So let's say, for example, with Mr. R again, I know I had mentioned a little bit with going to our place behavior and sort of working on that stay or settle. The other option too, as I mentioned, having a chew that they find appealing. And then you can start to pair it with, for example, a tether system. So if, for example, your babes chew through leashes, I would recommend to get a small tether that is technically normally metal with a nice cover. If your babe has never done this, I wouldn't go right into tethering and then leave them unsupervised ever. But I would highly recommend that maybe you're okay, I want to put my dishes away, or I want to read in the couch, and maybe your babe is tethered in a section of the home where you can still hear and maybe partially see them. I would make sure that when you're first starting off, you make this seem really easy and not too overwhelming. So let's say, for example, we might hook up Mr. R so he's attached to his harness so he's not pulling on his neck. This way, now you could pair his lovely chew. He's like, hold on, Lainey, ready, Ruger. So let's say, for example, he's really interested in his chew for a second, and I want to get him to practice going to the bed with his item. Ready, Ruger, find it. So I like to sometimes go and do a few find it, see if I can get him to disengage, but now he says, hold on, lady, I really love my peanut butter. So notice how when your puppy has a high value chew, I don't go right into swiping it from him. If I go right into swiping it from him, ready, Ruger, he might then start to think that I'm the end of fun and that when I come nearby, things go away. So to get him to feel comfortable disengaging, I go ahead and help him by moving away from the item. I'm just going to move this over so we can see him a little bit better. I like to plop in a few extra snacks inside the item and see if I can get him to go onto his bed, get a little sit, beautiful, and then offer the little item. So what I want to try with Mr. R is to see if I can get him to feel comfortable holding his little settle zone. Remember that while he's on the tether, he doesn't have to be doing a stay on his bed. He could just be free roaming within the tether's distance. So if, let's say, for example, you're like, you know what, I want to be able to, he's like, I'm going to move my house. So let's say he gets a little tangled. This is where in the beginning, I do recommend you're there to help him throughout the practice. So let's say Mr. Handsome's just meandering. He could be eventually figuring out, oh, okay, maybe it's more cozy to relax on my bed. So what I like to do is while he's enjoying something of value and he's kind of relaxing, I might go around the environment and do my own thing. So this could be, okay, I'm going to go over here and maybe I was grabbing something from the dishwasher, but now while my dog is tethered, he could then enjoy his chew. Or Ruger, you could also add a few little snacks to the target mat to build up value while he's just getting comfortable with this setup and dynamic. So for Mr. R, if let's say hanging out and meandering, trying to get the bones goo out, because again, it's peanut butter stuff with a few other little snacks that mom and dad brought for him. So let's say you're working on this, you could start to build in, okay, I'm going to meander over to the different side of my house and then come back and check on him and do some find its. We want to make sure that when you're coming back to him, if he's getting overwhelmed, go into a couple little find its and then give him a little breather where he can relax again and then practice meandering around him. If when you're finding you're giving him little breathers, he's having a hard time, you might be adding too much distance to start. So ready, Ruger? He says, I'm finding all my crumbs. Ready? So I might bring some more little goodies into his little bone, bring him back onto his little bed, and see if we can get him to practice going to his little spot. So tethering for Mr. R might be another great venue where if, let's say, the crating, again, you're taking your time to get him comfortable with that dynamic, we do want to avoid the cry it out method where you just go ahead and plop him in the crate and he howls and has a hard time. That, again, will only create more of a negative association around crating. I would recommend to check out some of those videos I had sent along to you guys earlier. I might just send them along to the whole group too. It's another one of the trainers that I really like to recommend people also check out as extra information. And she does some really great videos on creating separation training, trying to prevent, again, the separation anxiety that could happen as well. And then that way you're building up your babe's potential for feeling very safe while sometimes you do have to dissipate. So again, Mr. R is enjoying his little chew. I might go and pretend like, okay, I'm going to load the dishwasher. I'm doing something else. And then as he's enjoying his little chew, I might again offer a few more snacks for while he's vegging in that little spot. So this way, as he's doing his own thing, I could be adding a little value to him hanging out there while I may be doing other things that could be distracting. So definitely recommend a bit with some tether practice. And remember, you don't want to use your crate, your corral, baby gated area, or tethering, or even a leash as a negative. What I mean by that is, let's say you let your puppy go so long they get overwhelmed, overtired, especially mouthy because they're just pooped out. And now you're like, gosh darn it, I've had it with this dog. And that's when you attach them, or that's when you separate them. Then they might start to think every time, again, they get a little excited or want to wrestle, or they're getting overtired, it always means disengagement from you, and it might create more anxiety or a bigger response from them. So, excuse me, make sure that you're practicing some of this practice in the sense of a little bit of distance between you and your babe, and not have it always equal. You're leaving or you're taking away something from them, like moving around the environment or getting into trouble and getting grumpy with them. Because if we use sort of grumpiness to change behavior, what ends up happening is the dog might still revert right back to the old behavior when you're gone. Or the babe might start to find that we are at sometimes spooky, and therefore maybe even get more anxious and therefore more excitable when they're dealing with anxiety. So remember that a lot of times displacement behaviors can also look like excitement, as opposed to shutting down or doing other doggy skills too. So, but allowing Mr. R to just have some decompression on his bed while you're kind of hanging out, doing your own thing throughout the day, great way to throw in both mental and physical sort of practice for him, where you don't have to be the one always attached to him. So if you forget to put up baby gates or manage the environment the way that might help him best, tethering could be a step in between the crating to leashing him in the home. So, but Mr. R is doing a great job with the tether and his little bed, and with the snack that you guys packed. So very nice little setup for Mr. R. So beautiful. Then you can also apply this lovely practice into a little sit or down stay and get him to rehearse it that way. Ready, Ruger? So you could bring him back over onto his bed, get him to work a little bit with his sit or downs. Ready, sit? And then work a little bit with stay. And you could start to practice this and start to add distance or some distractions as he's working a sit or down stay on his dog bed or spot. So nice. And then he can go right back to his lovely chew, and he could just work those setups. Nice job, Mr. R. Beautiful.